Hello, friends, and welcome to the Monday Show 32. I'm your host, Wes. With me, as always, my good friend Ruuts. Ruuts, did you ever get the feeling like you were being watched?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess as a podcast, I think somebody would watch the show, but sometimes I wonder, like, is anybody watching?
Yeah, people don't watch this show, so I get this strange tingling sensation when I feel like somebody's actually watching me as we speak. What do you think that
I
could
don't know.
be?
I kind of feel it now too, like somebody's creeping on us, like peeking in a window, just sitting there watching. Oh wait, I figured it out. I think I figured it out, Wes. There he is.
Oh, hey, what are you doing there?
What is up, fellas?
What's going on?
All right, everybody, as you all know, this is Anthony from VR365 and also the VR Game Rankings website. Uh, Funny story, Anthony, most people found your channel through the VR Roundtable podcast, right? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm I'm just the opposite. I had never seen that podcast when I found your channel. I actually found you through your website because when I first built my PC to get into PC VR, I had no idea what to buy. So I started searching to find a resource to tell me what's good, what's not good, and I came upon your website, which led me to your YouTube channel, which led me to meeting Ruuts, which led to us sitting here today doing this. So,
That's awesome. I wish there were 5 more million people just like you.
no, I thought you might enjoy to know that some people actually do use it for uh, your hard work's not going for nothing. I'll just put it that way. There are those of us out there who actually do use it for what it's intended for.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I still like working on it. I wish I had more time to it's never been what I dreamed about originally, what I really wanted it to be. Like it's never been that, but I've put enough work into it that like just abandoning it seems like a really bad idea. So I still work on it when I can. It's difficult because I've well, it's a long story, but anyway, it's going pretty well and I'm going to continue to bang away at it.
Well, that's good because I feel like, there's a million of us, well, not a million, but there's 100 people out there doing what we're doing here. Nobody else doing what you're doing with that website. So I got to feel like as the platform grows and as more people come in, more people are going to find it. So thanks for that. And thanks for coming on today, by the way. I really appreciate it. It's our birthday.
Yeah, it's our birthday, and I'm excited.
Happy birthday.
I'm excited, and it's funny, Anthony, because you generated more anticipation for because I said so. Like just even in passing with doing some multiplayer, I ran it by some of the people I was playing with, like Scion and Gaming Science Teacher and so forth, and Radio Run, and everybody was excited about you doing this segment of because I said so. So I think that was makes me excited. So.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Dude, I've always loved your guys' show. I love the logo. I love the color scheme. I feel right at home. I feel right
Yeah,
at home.
we match. So
Yeah, well, we got to thank our old friend Alex. He's the one that designed all this stuff, and we've had plans on kind of redesigning everything here on the channel, but it seems like every time we take one step in that direction, we take two steps in the other direction, and a lot of changes still coming here, but it's going along a little slower than we
I
thought.
think I partially blame the Wuhan virus because it's taken all my money and like everything, like you said, every time I want to like change things is like something happens and it just doesn't happen. So,
You know what's nice though? Your guys' show, like the logo, the look, the name, all of that. like you kind of got it right on the first go round. Like if you were to go to the VR Game Rankings YouTube channel and look at some of like my graphics and stuff, oh, it was god awful. And then I rebranded as VR365. But you guys, like you guys don't have like an ancient prehistoric period where it looked absolutely terrible. Now maybe 5 years from now you're going to think this looks terrible, but I think it looks pretty
Oh,
nice.
that's good.
Wow.
Good to hear. You know, good to have that outside view for sure.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah, we did have the look down from the beginning, but if you go back and watch some of our early shows, it is
Rough.
totally cringe. We're all nervous and like, you know, shaking in our chairs, and we have, you know, crappy mic quality, and you know, we're talking over one another. It really, we've come a long way in the last year, and just, you know, we're all self-taught. We just basically taught ourselves how to be podcasters, and I think we're still improving every day, but we're a lot better than we were then, for sure.
Yeah.
You got to hit that 10,000 hour mark.
I feel like we're there.
Yeah.
You know, what's funny for me, man, my biggest nemesis over the last year was my camera. And like, I was small, I was big, I was this way, I was that way. The mic's here, the mic's there, it's up, it's down. And because Wes would know, every single time I was doing it, I was trying to figure out a new way to do it. And I feel like I finally got what I wanted. And I can die now, Wes. I don't want to die, but I could. And I think I'd be okay. So.
You say that now, but next week you're going to be tweaking your boom over there.
Yeah, I'll be switching it one more time.
Anyway, so, you know, people are tuning in because they want to see this because I said so. What did we make Anthony play? And for those of you new to the channel, the Because I Said So segment is pretty simple. We told Anthony something that we want him to play. He told us something that he wants us to play. And it doesn't really matter if he wants to or not. He's going to, because I said so. And that's kind of how this goes. And we told everyone last week that we were going to have you on, Anthony, and that you were going to be doing Because I Said So, but we didn't tell everyone what it was that we were going to have you do. And, you know, Ruuts and I kind of threw it back and forth a couple of times. And the one thing that kept coming up was the fact that you despise this idea of playing games on a third or fourth or fifth client. You don't want to download all this crap on your computer just to play a game. So we made you do just that. We made you download the Epic Games client and check out Tetris Effect. So first of all, what were your thoughts on the client itself, the Epic Games launcher? What did you think about it?
I mean, I think it's fine, but what is it doing in the background right now as we speak? It's probably cataloging every little bit of it. No, I don't know. Yeah, it's just my argument on that front is I feel like if you're going to have a store, then give us a hardware platform. That has always been kind of my theory with this thing. And Valve, you know, they finally gave us the Index, so they have a store, they have hardware. I'm okay with that. Oculus has hardware, they have a store. But when you go to places like Ubisoft and EA and, you know, all these people with all these different stores, I think no. I think you need to have a hardware platform and then you have a store. Because otherwise we get into a situation where basically everybody and their mom can create stores, and that's exactly what's happening. And then as they become more and more successful, then it just inspires more and more people to do this. Next thing you know, you got 78 different things running right at startup, and you might, you know, I mean, I'm obviously exaggerating here, but I'm the type of guy, like, I would love to refresh Windows and then have like a super hardcore Windows nerd guy come over and erase everything that isn't absolutely required and have it the most bare bones Windows possible, you know, and keep everything perfectly streamlined, because I feel like it's usually conflicts between multiple programs and, you know, stuff that continues to run in the background and it's taking up resources or whatever. So I like keeping it simple.
Yeah, I agree with you there. My whole thing with it always is you know, above all, we're consumers, and I feel like whatever aspect of business you're talking about, competition always creates the best environment for consumers. And you know, yes, while it can be a hassle to manage all these passwords and all these different software programs, if you go into my Epic Games library, you'll see 20 to 30 games in there, big name titles. The only one I paid for is Tetris Effect. All of that stuff was free, and the reason why is because they're trying to be competitive with Steam, with you know, name the platform, with everyone else out there, namely mainly Steam. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Where does it all stop? And who do you trust, right? Because I know I could probably go into my task manager right now, and Viveport's probably running some kind of software as we speak, eating up just a little bit of my system resources. So yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from.
What do you think though about the fact that like games like this wouldn't have even came to PC VR if it weren't for, like, you could say all the other stores, you know, but Epic Store alone, they seem to be bringing PlayStation VR exclusives over. I personally believe they have something going on with Sony, and I won't be surprised if I see more come over. And you know, one of the things that I dreamed about playing this game on PC VR and being able to super sample the hell out of it, and I got to do it, and it was so good that I gave away my copy on PlayStation VR. Well, before I sold it, to somebody else, because I was never going to play it on PlayStation again because it was so good on the PC. So I feel like them entering the, you know, it benefited us all, especially with exclusives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Anthony, do you think that what Ruuts is saying there might be true? Do you think that there could be some kind of alliance between Sony and the guys at Epic?
I don't think so. I think it's just random circumstance that like Falcon Age and a couple of games that happen to be PlayStation exclusives. It does look like, oh yeah, maybe there's something going on here, but I don't know that like Sony was the publisher. Did Sony publish either of these games when they were on PlayStation VR, or was it like other individual publishers that did it? Like Outer
I,
Loop Games was, but I don't know who published it. But anyway, it's good to have competition for Steam. Absolutely no question about that. Like, I am rooting for this thing to do a little bit of damage because we've seen just in other aspects of VR, unlimited dominance is a terrible thing. Look at Oculus with the Oculus Quest. I mean, we might talk about this later, but like they absolutely just own the standalone market and there is no competitor anywhere. The closest competitor is their old headset, the Oculus Go. Like they just completely own that market, absolutely dominate that market. And anytime you have a total domination, there's a worry because the company could basically put their feet up and kind of kick back, and they're still going to like sell tons of copies of everything and it's going to work out great because they just have that sheer dominance. You'd like to have an outside competitor that puts a little bit of pressure.
yeah, my fingers are still kind of crossed that the next PSVR headset is some kind of a hybrid, something you can tether to the PS5 or unplug and take with you. Because I agree, I do think that there needs to be some competition in this space. Obviously, standalone is the way of the future. That this is what people want. They want to be untethered. They want to be free. They want the simplicity that comes with just putting on a headset and playing. So yeah, definitely. If this is the way we're going, then there needs to be competition in the space. But yeah, as far as the thing with Epic and Sony, I was of the mindset that Roots has. I was thinking maybe there could have been some kind of collaboration there. But lately, we're seeing other games like The Persistence, like Death Stranding, like Horizon Zero Dawn. All of this stuff's coming to Steam, so that kind of just blew that idea right out of the water, in my opinion. But enough talk about that. Let's talk about the goods, sir. What did you think of Tetris Effect? I know you had this kind of these preconceived notions about it because you played the PlayStation 4 demo of it. But at least in my opinion, in Ruuts' opinion, the experience on PC is vastly different from that demo.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I don't know if it's that different from the demo or if just that demo doesn't give a good representation for why people like go ape job over this game. You know, I mean, people really love this game. People swear by this game. People where I trust their opinion, like really like this game. And I always like when I always heard people talking about Tetris Effect as like one of the best PSVR games, or it's like one of the best VR games ever, or like it's nominated for Game of the Year or something like that. I thought these people must be out of their mind because when I played it on the PlayStation 4 demo in PSVR, it's like, okay, I'm playing Tetris. Yeah, I like Tetris. I know there's some things that are kind of going on in the perimeter, but I'm ultimately playing Tetris. And I don't know, it's not this like orgasmic thing that people talk about. That was my experience with that demo. But the thing about it is, after playing this, so I did borrow your guys' Epic account really quick and did that whole thing, downloaded it, and have played this. And my experience was tremendously different in this one. And I think it's primarily because I just wasn't playing very good when I tried the PlayStation 4 demo. I wasn't doing a good job of playing Tetris. And the thing is, with this game, as you do better and better in the actual playing of the game Tetris, that's what activates all the extra musical things and like things moving around in the world and stuff. And when I did that on PlayStation VR, I was doing such a terrible job of it that I really wasn't activating any of that stuff. And so I didn't get the razzmatazz. So that's why I was like, really? This is what people are into? I mean, I know there's like little particles moving around and stuff, but I don't see the freaking, I don't know, I don't get it. And playing the PCVR version of this like just the other day and having the soundtrack, and it was like, I think it was in the ocean and there were like whales swimming around and fishes swimming around, and like it was activating perfectly with the music, and you're syncing it with, and you're doing your Tetris blocks. I mean, it's really cool. Again, though, at the end of the day, this is Tetris. I still like, it's cool. It's better than I thought it was for sure. But I still will reserve the right to think that some of these people are a little bit crazy to think this. I mean, I don't know. See, the thing is, I didn't grow up with Tetris like a lot of people grew up with Tetris. When Tetris came out, there was a Game Boy. It was black and white. It wasn't even black and white. It was like green and something. And I saw it and I knew it was out there, but I decided to pass on it. Never, ever got a Game Boy. And then Tetris also came out on like Nintendo Entertainment System. I really didn't screw around with that. I was already playing Super Nintendo practically at that time. And I mean, there might have eventually been a Tetris on Super Nintendo, but I wasn't paying attention to it. And so it's one of these games, I'm sure we all have them. Like there's somebody out there that has never played Zelda: A Link to the Past, or there's somebody that's never played Super Mario World, or we all have our blank spots, right? And Tetris has always been a blank spot for me. So I don't have the tremendous nostalgia that a lot of people do have with this franchise. So while I find it musically, like, this is a trippy, cool game, this is like, if you want to chill out and kind of vibe out and vegetate a little bit and kind of get lost in this euphoria of the music and everything intertwining, it's definitely the game for that.
Yeah, I think you've got a real point there. And I can't really speak for Ruuts, but I know I, for one, have hundreds of hours in Tetris over the span of my life. Ruuts, is that something that you got into as a younger man?
Yeah, I used to play Tetris so much when I was a kid that I'd lay down at night and I'd close my eyes and I would still be seeing the shit coming down and twisting them in my mind and playing Tetris in my mind. because that's how much, that's what happens with this game. So yeah, I absolutely did exactly that. And I kind of, it's kind of exactly what you're talking about, Anthony, is how Wes and I felt about Half-Life. You know, like everybody was losing their shit. And I was like, I've never even, I mean, I had heard of Half-Life, but I had never played it, none of it. So that nostalgia of people like when we started the game and people spend 4 hours in that first opening area looking at, oh my God, I didn't have that. I'm going into my favorite game and being in it. So it makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, you know, one last little point I wanted to make about all of this is before I got into VR, I was a retro gamer. Like I was like a modern gamer. I had like an Xbox One and I had a PlayStation 4, but I wasn't really using them. I was playing retro games. I was playing Super Nintendo, Genesis, and all this stuff. And like when you go down the retro gaming rabbit hole, you can go down deep. And sometimes you start buying all kinds of old things, stuff that you didn't even have before. Like I got an old Game Boy, like the brick, you know, the big ginormous Game Boys. I got an original one of those. I got the Pocket Game Boy, which is way the hell better, has a way better screen, not the color, but just the Pocket Game Boy. It was like a better version of the black and white Game Boy. And I got Tetris and I played it. So like way later, like 30 years later, I'm playing Tetris on like a little portable. And I understand why it was such a magical thing for everybody when it came out. You know, it's like Pac-Man or something, you know, it's just got this, but even better.
Yeah, it's got this addictive gameplay loop where you're constantly, you know, trying to beat what you did the last time in it. And, you know, it's like riding a bicycle. When I came into Tetris Effect, you know, I right away, I got comfortable in the game, but there are new mechanics in Tetris Effect that aren't in the old Tetris, the way that you can manipulate time and string together the lines. And, you know, before you could only do up to 4 lines at a time. Now you can fill the whole screen with it. So it took me a while to get that stuff, but really the thing that really sold me on this game was as you get into some of the later levels of journey mode, it's hard. I mean, that all of this, you know, all these visuals and stuff that they're putting up in front of you, it isn't there just for looks. It's a distraction. You want to look at that stuff, but at the same time, you're trying to concentrate on the Tetris game that's going on, and it's a constant struggle to stay focused. So yeah, really the whole thing that sold me on this game is, you know, as you play along and you get deeper into journey mode and the difficulty of the puzzles ramps up, the visuals and things that they put in this game aren't just there to look pretty. As you're trying to concentrate on playing this intensely difficult puzzle game, the game's constantly trying to pull your attention in all these different directions. And it's a constant struggle, you know, kind of like playing Polybius, where you're trying to, you know, race down the track and avoid obstacles. But on the outside periphery, the game is trying to distract you as hard as it can. So that really led to some fun gameplay, especially as you get later on in it. And the other thing that really, really impressed me about the game was the integration of all the different facets of gameplay. So like the audio, the video, and even the haptics all seem to kind of work together. Even with what you're doing with the buttons seems to affect all of it. Anthony, what did you think about the haptics in particular and the way everything just kind of flowed together?
Yeah, the haptics, I mean, I don't know that it really jumped out to me. What kind of controller were you using when you played it?
Oculus Touch controllers.
Oh, okay. Because I was playing this in my Valve Index and I was using a wired Xbox controller.
Yeah, I don't think the haptics will
But it
come
was
through though.
it was rumbling, but it wasn't like doing like what, you know, I don't know that it was doing like something super crazy, but it was rumbling.
Yeah, well, what it does is it kind of pulses to the rhythm of the music. But as you know, as you interface with the buttons, the buttons affect the sound affects the visuals, and then it all comes back into the haptics, and it all kind of ties in together. And really, that was what impressed me more than anything, is the way it was all integrated together. But if you were using an Xbox controller, I'm not quite sure that it's the same experience.
Yeah, it was good regardless. I mean, it does, like the whole audio visual thing. We always say that it was orgasmic. You'll hear people say that, but no, that really kind of does define what it, because the way it all coalesces, I guess, might be a good word for that. It reminds me of Res Infinite, the very end Area X, where it's like a religious experience. Like when you zone out and you're doing incredibly well at this game, and then all the audio cues start playing off of all of that, and then it's just like a feedback loop, and it's incredible. Like when you're really nailing
And
it,
it
it's
picks up
amazing.
pace and gets very, very fast, and that's what's crazy, right? So.
Yeah, it's one of those situations that are rare but awesome when it happens, where it feels like the game's playing you almost, where you just kind of get in this symbiosis and just lose yourself into the zone. This is one of the few games that induce that state regularly, and that's another big plus in my opinion. I know that's one of your favorite things about it as well, Ruuts, right? That makes you do things that you didn't know how you did
them. I like to get lost in the game and control the uncontrollable, especially when it's something like you said, where you're zoning out and you're really focusing so much and there's so much going on, and you're like, I don't know how the hell I'm not dead. Or you come back from like being stacked and almost done, and somehow you bring it back and you finish that level. And it's like, because I don't like repetition, Wes. I don't like repetition a lot. So if I got to do something over and over and over again, I almost get scared of losing, because there's a point where I'm going to nope out to a different time just because of the repetition of it. I'll just be like, it's just too much. I cannot do this again right now. So.
Yeah, that's part of the whole frustration of playing these old school style games. Something else I really enjoyed about this over old Tetris are the tempo changes. You can be playing and it lulls you to sleep with this nice relaxed pace, and then you hear that sound, that bing, and all of a sudden the blocks start falling like rain. I think I've got PTSD from hearing that sound so much, man.
Yeah, that's definitely bad noise to hear, right?
Bing. I think I've woken up from nightmares to that. Bing. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so that's Tetris Effect. Anthony, I'm glad to see that we could at least change your mind on the game a little bit, even if we haven't completely sold you on the idea of the Epic Store. I'm glad you enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, at least if nothing else, I understand why people love it so much, that it makes sense, and it's a solid game. I wouldn't put it up there as like my greatest VR games ever, but I understand why people do.
Well, let me ask you this: $30, yay or nay?
For me, nay, because see, I'm looking at this game right now, like the trailer that you're running here, and I was actually going to ask you about this. It's like, at the end of the day, because like you're playing a game, right? So you play it one day, then you're doing other stuff, then you come back, you play it the next day, and then you're doing other stuff, and it's at this point where you start thinking about the game is like, is this game really going to hold you down? Or is it like when you start to think about it, you're like, yeah, that's fun, but you know what? It's just Tetris. I'm not walking down a hallway being chased by a psychopath.
Well, we'll use that as a little segue then. So this is a two-way street. We don't just make you play what we want you to play. You also got to choose one for us. So why don't you enlighten the people as to what you had us play?
Yeah, so basically, I just found out if you guys had been into chapter 2 or chapter 3, or basically any chapter other than chapter 1 of Westworld, because you know what? It's actually very common. A lot of people have gotten Westworld. They've started Westworld. I think Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis was in this exact situation. Started Westworld, played it like 15 minutes, wasn't really feeling it, bounced out of it to never come back again. And when we first got this game, because I believe like VR Roundtable, we bought it for like one of our VR Roundtable accounts when it finally went on sale. And I was like, oh, Westworld Awakening. I've been waiting a long time for this. Yes, I definitely want to check it out. I got in it. I was super excited to play it. And in the first chapter, I'm like, this is kind of lame sauce. What is going on? I'm not really feeling this at all. But I then got into future chapters and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. So anybody I find that has not played this, and there's a lot of people that haven't played it, I really want them to see chapter 2, chapter 3, get into the game. And I think if they're anything like me, they're probably going to fall in love with it and go through the full 5 chapters.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened with our good friend Ruuts over here. You actually played all the way through this when you sat down to do it, didn't you?
Yeah,
Ruuts?
well, I played like Anthony said, I played the first chapter. I didn't think it was horrible. It actually intrigued me for what the series was. You know, and then Wes had suggested you need to watch season 1 so you don't ruin it, and then do chapter 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I did that. I watched all of season 1, and then I never went back. And I, for whatever reason, and I kept saying to Wes, I need to go back into this because I really like the series. And so when you picked it for a game, I thought, oh my God, I definitely need to jump into this. And like Wes said, I started chapter 2. And I played it all the way through till it was over. And let me tell you, man, that fucking dude, I don't know, man. It's a completely different game than the first. It's like the first chapter was one thing and the rest of the game is something different. It's a stealth game, like, and it was really done very well. I was really impressed.
But yeah, I largely enjoyed my experience too. Like you, when I bought the game, I didn't buy the game. When I first played the game through our shared Steam library, I played through the first chapter of it, and I thought it was okay. But going back into it, I've now played a couple more hours. I think I'm kind of close to the end of chapter 3 in it, and I'm probably moving a lot more slowly than you guys just because I like to stop and smell the roses. But I'm really, really enjoying it. But I'm not so sure if I'm enjoying it because it's this great game or if I'm enjoying it because I'm such a big fan of the Westworld television series. Because honestly, the coolest part of it to me is being in this world that I'm already so familiar with, being in these corporate offices, playing the role of a character that, I mean, even though they've changed their name for this video game adaptation, we all know that it's the same character from the television show, right? It's the same voice.
Pretty much,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much just fanboying out the whole time that I'm in it. But to Roots' point, I think that it's a fairly solid stealth game as well. And I don't know about you, Anthony, but generally stealth in VR has been a bad experience for me. I haven't found many stealth games that I enjoy. So just the fact that I'm not noping out of this immediately has to say something about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is a stealth game. And so the thing about Westworld Awakening, in my opinion, it's not really about the gameplay. And so if somebody plays through all of Westworld Awakening and like they are all about the gameplay, they could probably get irritated by this game because you pretty much kind of do a rinse and repeat thing from a gameplay standpoint in regards to stealth. There's a certain thing that you will do over and over again. But where I think this game shines is in several different areas, actually. Number one, I think it's the environmental storytelling that's going on. Wes, you mentioned that you are a fan of Westworld, and Ruuts watched the entire season 1 of Westworld and then was able to play it. And so if you've seen the Westworld TV show and you've seen those underground laboratory offices of Delos where it's got the glass, you know, like these glass rooms, and there's like a horse that's sitting there and it looks like a real horse, but then you see its leg is all robot leg. And then you've got a covered wagon, or you've got an Indian and he's just standing there, you know, and it's in this glass enclosure. I was just fascinated by like the visuals of everything, because there's like little sparks that are flickering and reflecting off things. And one of the things that I found most striking in this game, and since you guys were just in it, you probably remember this, is you know how you'll see a computer that is like busted and it's like got gibberish on the screen. They have these black tables that are like Microsoft Surface tables, you know, where it's like an AR table, you know, where it's doing all this stuff on the surface of the table, but they're damaged. They got big cracks running through them, and the screens is like scrambling gibberish, but it isn't the kind of crappy gibberish that somebody just throws together. Like if you really stop and you look at what's going on in that screen, it's like, man, that looks really like what it would look like if a computer was damaged and it was just flashing gibberish. And then there's other computers and stuff in other offices where there's computer screens. You go up to them, and in a lot of games, you go up to a computer monitor in a video game, a lot of times it's going to have fake words. It's not even going to have real words. It's just going to have fake stuff. And it's designed for you to just look at it offhand, but not to actually go up and look at it. But in Westworld Awakening, there's a lot of these computer screens. You can walk up to it and there's legit, like it's like real words, like it's like a real screen that they're trying to fake there. There's some other screens that have a little bit more gibberish, but it's all mixed in. And so it's like the world storytelling is incredible. And then Ruuts, like if you finish this game, dude, what about the voice acting? Because I think the voice acting of so many of these characters was like freaking home run ball, man. They just not like everybody did a damn good job. Like there were multiple people. Okay, so you had the person going through the experience that was freaking out. She sounded like Dolores. She wasn't Dolores, but really sounds like her. That lady did a freaking incredible performance, her already. Then you had somebody that was helping her from Delos. There was like a female that was helping her. And then later there was a dude that was helping her. Then you've got like the bad guy. You might even have like another voice person as well. But basically everybody hit a home run. Like everybody freaking hit a home run. Parts of the story I thought were kind of dumb at the very beginning, but man, they freaking turned a corner. And I just like, I love the whole vibe of the game. It's like if you want to get like if you're a Westworld fan, holy shit, could you imagine if you took this to like a Westworld convention and you had the biggest play space you could have under HTC Vive with a Vive Pro and like a Vive wireless adapter, and you trot in as many Westworld Awakening fans as you can just into chapter 2, where they're just walking through those glass hallways and they're seeing the Indians and they're seeing the covered wagons. And then you've got the freaking people like bloody laying on the ground dead, and just the vibe and the music. Oh, dude, this was one of the 5 best games of 2019, in my opinion. I don't know that Wes, I don't know that you're really feeling that, and I don't even know if Ruuts is feeling it, but damn,
No,
I
felt like
it.
the acting, like you said, was spot on, and I wouldn't be surprised if every one of the people that did the acting, voice acting, were parts of the show, and just because they encapsulated their parts so well that it was very believable, right? And there's some things that happened, you know, later on, like with that chick that's helping you, like the way her story ended was like, oh my god, like there's just some, it was good. The story was good, the acting was good. I think, like you said, the graphics were phenomenal. All the shocks, all the electricity, and places you couldn't go. And I was really impressed with the way they utilized that tablet, and they really did kind of make you feel like you were a part of that series, and you could like change people's emotions and just manipulate stuff. And it was really cool.
Yeah, that was kind of my favorite aspect about it, was the fact that I've seen this happen before on television. I've watched as these hosts become self-aware, and they go through this process of realizing that the world that they live in isn't the true world. And I don't want to give away too much about it. I guess if somebody hasn't seen the television show, um, but to actually to be able to live through what I've seen take place on the television series that like I said, I really enjoy, was awesome. And to what you were saying, Anthony, the environmental storytelling, so awesome. I think part of the reason why it's taken me so long to play through these levels is because you're going through these offices, right? And there's these whiteboards and these memos laying around everywhere and all of this stuff, the pictures on the wall, it all has little bits of the backstory. And this is the kind of stuff I live for. So I'm picking up every little scrap of everything I can find, looking at every picture, reading every word. And Servios, they're getting very good. Uh, and at, we just talked about Half-Life Alex, right? And we praised Valve specifically for their specific attention to detail in each facet of game making. And I feel like Servios has a lot of that going on here because the graphics were uncommonly detailed. The sound effects built up the atmosphere around you the way that they should. And the environments themselves just ooze story details. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think that Servios is pulling away from the other, independent VR game developers. And even though I don't particularly love every game that they've put out, everything that they put out from a production standpoint is very, very high quality, and it's always impressive.
Yeah. Ruuts, I know you probably want to talk, but I just want to say this really quick. Servios, after playing this game, Servios is on a whole nother level as far as I'm concerned, because I thought they did stuff in this game, environmentally speaking, and audio and just the clarity of the voiceovers. It sounded like a TV show. Like a lot of times on these games, stuff is scratchy. No, it was crystal clear. It was like you were in an episode of Westworld. It was fantastic. And I'm excited for the Walking Dead Onslaught. That other Walking Dead game that everybody forgot about, right? If the same team, you got to imagine Servios is such a big developer and they pump out so many different games on Quest and, and arcades and stuff as well. They probably have like 3 different teams at Servios, but they have an A team. They have a star team. And I believe the star team did this game, Westworld Awakening. And I'm imagining that as soon as the development of this game finished, this team immediately went to another major franchise in The Walking Dead, and they're banging away on The Walking Dead Onslaught. And a lot of people, because of Saints and Sinners, they're taking that other game for granted, and they probably think it's a waste of time. Dude, after playing this, I'm like, I want to see everything they do at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I didn't even think about that because we're just talking about Onslaught the other day, Wes and I, and saying the same thing that people have forgotten about it. And Wes was saying the closer we get, he's starting to get really psyched for that game, myself included. And especially with what you just said, if they can bring the same what they did with this game into the Walking Dead, it's going to be phenomenal. Because I agree. I feel like they did a really good job of making you feel like you jumped into your TV set and you were in the Westworld series, and that, to me, that's special. Like, I don't think people realize that most developers can't draw you in like that. And I am psyched now for Onslaught.
And as much as there is to praise about this game and the other games that Servios have put out, I think the most amazing thing that they've accomplished is the fact that during VR's early days, during the VR is dead, VR is a gimmick era, Servios is landing Creed, Servios is landing Westworld, they're landing The Walking Dead. All of these major entertainment franchises have been convinced to lend their licensing rights to VR games, which the profits that come back off of it has to be just a drop in a bucket to these big media conglomerations. So kudos to them for that. I don't know who's working it on acquiring these contracts, but whoever it is, they deserve a raise, man, because they're bringing in the best franchises in entertainment during a time when VR is just, uh, new, for lack of a better term.
You know, the people at HBO that hired Servios to do this contract job and to make Westworld Awakening, I bet they have no idea how well they actually delivered on this concept. This game is under the radar, man. There's so many people that have no idea how good this is. I really think this is one of the shining stars in the VR gaming world. Like, this is, in my opinion, this is a top 20 VR game, and it's not even in discussion, in my opinion. But I don't know. But like you talk to Alex, a virtual insider, I think he'd probably agree with me. There's people that would agree with me. So there's some people that felt what I felt. This game is not like, there's plenty to criticize. Like, the gameplay is, you never have a gun. You never have a gun. So, see, one of the biggest complaints I have about this game, because you never have a gun or never have a weapon, I'm never really afraid, because if they're not going to give me a gun or give me a weapon, then obviously there's nothing for me to shoot or kill, because, you know what I mean, kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's a stealth game, but it's like, there's certain aspects of this game that I could really nitpick, but the stuff that they did right was like grand slam right. So I'm able to forgive any of the other little crap. It's hard. How likely is it that we're going to get a game that knocks every aspect of it out of the park? That is very rare. I mean, we're kind of seeing it with Half-Life Alyx, but it is a rare bird that does that.
Yeah, I'm high on the game, maybe not as high on it as you or Alex, but I think really where I messed up with it is I should have played it when it came out, because now playing it after all the stuff that's came out over the last 4 to 6 months, I'm going into Westworld, and stuff that I never used to notice is jarring to me now. My hands are passing through tables and surfaces. I'm seeing, you say there's no weapons. Well, they're there. There's weapons. There's axes and hammers. You just can't pick them up because they're like a hologram. Your hand just goes right through it. So,
the Boneworks effect.
Exactly. As beautiful as these environments are, they're not as interactive as I've become accustomed to lately. And having played this game just today, it was jarring on more than one occasion. Ruuts, did you notice any of this that I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed, just because, like you said, Boneworks, Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Alex. It'd been 7 months since I went into Westworld. And so the first time I started putting my hand through stuff, I was like, whoa, oh, yeah, that's right. This is old school VR, I guess, where I've just starting to get accustomed to my hands shouldn't go through things. And I guess it's going to get worse as more games come out, right? But and it's going to be an easy way to date games in the near future. If you go into a game and your hands go through stuff, you'll be like, oh, that's generation 1 VR, not generation 2. You know what I mean? We'll have different steps. So it was one of the things that I noticed right off the bat. But I do blame all those other good games that have came out since this one released.
Dude, this is a real reality that we're going to be dealing, because it's going to take a long time. You're talking about, generation 1. Oh yeah, that's a generation 1 game. Your hands going through the table. See, the problem is, it's not like we're going to get to July of this year and every single VR game is going to have, they're not, it's going to take several years for this to trickle down through everybody, where somebody's going to come to the realization, you don't bring out a game where your hand just goes through shit. No one will tolerate that anymore, but it's going to take a while for that to happen. But really quick, Westworld Awakening, I played this before I started Boneworks, okay? Then I played Boneworks, then Saints and Sinners, then Half-Life Alyx, and you play those 3 games in a row, which is pretty much what I did, and I really haven't played Asgard's Wrath or Stormland. You know, there's a lot of games I've missed, and I've just been going to those three. And these three are spoiling us redonkulously. I mean, just imagine like the next game we get in. I mean, games aren't gonna every object you can pick it up and mess with it. You can grab people and push them off, and the physicality of everything. I mean, even Alex, when we look at Alex, we were disappointed because we just came from Saints and Sinners, and you know there's no melee. So it's like, man, we're going to start to get so greedy. It's kind of a little worry when you think of all the new people coming into VR playing Boneworks, Saints and Sinners, those exact three games in order, and then thinking the entire VR world is going to be like that, and now they got to step back to reality.
Yeah, they'll even go to a good game like Lone Echo and probably look at it and say, ugh. You know, because it's, I mean, even though it's as good as it is, it's starting to become dated, right?
But Lone Echo, of every game out, I still think like Ready at Dawn, an individual hand touching a flat surface, I think they're still the best. Like no, like Alex, I'm playing Alex, and I take my hand and I just slap it against a door or something, and it's pretty good. But there's something about Ready at Dawn, like in Echo Arena and stuff, when you put like individual fingers placing them down and touching a surface, they did a damn good job with that.
Yeah, I would give this advice to anyone new in VR who did what you just said and played through those three titles and now are going to start turning back to the older catalog. You've got to just, you know, you're going to find a lot of good stuff in the older VR catalog, but what it lacks is the completeness of the new games. You know, the newer games are good in every facet, where you'll have something like Lone Echo that's really good at building atmosphere, and like Anthony said, hand interactions. That's something else that, say, like Vacation Simulator, Job Simulator is really good at hand interactions. But that's kind of the difference between Gen 2 games and Gen 1 games, right? Gen 1 games all had their one thing that they do well, where the Gen 2 games kind of just do everything well, or at least most things. But I get what you're saying. You know, in Half-Life Alex, yeah, you know, I wanted to be able to have melee attacks as well. But really, what was the most jarring thing to me in that game is I wanted to climb everything. Like, I felt like I should be able to climb up in this. I mean, there's endless amounts of things that in like Boneworks or Saints and Sinners you would be able to climb up on, just not happening there. So yeah, I guess it's all about what you've been playing lately.
I forgot you guys. Well, at least Wes, I know you're not a Boneworks hater, and there's a lot of them, dude. And see, I'm not a Boneworks hater. Like, I know Boneworks is janktacular, no questions asked. But like, I prefer the doors in Boneworks to the doors in Half-Life, you know. So I mean, and certain other things as well. I mean, Half-Life has none of the jank and about half of the physics, so it's still pretty good. Boneworks has like all of the physics with a gang of jank as well. So it's like,
about Boneworks though is, you know, and it kind of makes me chuckle about it because I really do enjoy the game, but you know, they made such a big deal of, you know, you go into this little thing and you see on the wall, what if it is a tech demo? It is a tech demo. I mean, it's a game, but it's there's no fucking story. Like, you know what I mean? That if they would have included a badass story, that Boneworks would be 100 times better. It's like it's kind of like Stormland, you know, there's no story to it. There's a story, but there's not a story. And that bothers me about Boneworks because I feel like it could have been way better than it is. Because every time I go into it, I enjoy the way everything looks. It's very immersive. You know, the puzzles, the interactions, most of the physics of attacking stuff is great. But the fact that there's not really a story to pull me along, I get bored after a while, you know. I want to have an engaging story. And that's what Alex had that, like we were saying, man, I was thinking about Alex. I wanted to go back into it when I wasn't playing it. And a lot of it was the story.
Yeah, you know what it really makes me excited for? Vertigo 2, as well as the Vertigo 1 remake, because that developer who's creating those games, not only is the guy a prodigy, but he's also he's coming from a background of working at Valve. He actually worked a little bit on Half-Life Alyx, and I really feel like those games are going to really hit that happy balance in between the simplicity of Half-Life Alyx and the complex physics of Boneworks. And I really feel like there's going to be a really interesting story to go with it as well, because just by judging from the trailer, this guy's creativity levels are off the chart. I mean, there's dudes running around with hands for heads. It looks like a real trip. And that quickly is becoming one of my most anticipated releases for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, cool.
But anyway, one more thing I wanted to touch on before we move on from this game. We were talking about the aspect of the way you're interacting with the world through the tablet. The same way that they do on the television show, you're kind of controlling everything through this tablet. Was that something, Anthony, that you particularly enjoyed about this game?
Hell yeah, I enjoyed it because they did a great job of it. That's the thing. Like, you're holding the tablet up, you're taking your hand and you're touching the different things, and it's like it's working like a tablet would work. And then when you're moving it around, like some games, you'll have something in your hand, you're moving it around, and the thing that you're moving around, like it's there, but then it disappears for a second. Like, no, the tablet was solid, it stuck there. It held its position. It had different things happening on it that were clear and legible, and like it was doing real things on that tablet. Like for example, the heat, you could set it into a mode where it's doing like predator vision, right? So you're looking through walls and seeing a guy come around with a freaking axe and shit, and you're able to see that with your tablet. Like, that's AR in VR working very well. Dude, I'm telling you, Servios knocked it out of the park with this baby.
Yeah, totally agreed. But yeah, but the reason why I'm asking you this is because recently, when we were talking about what's in our backlog, you brought up Boiling Steel. And when I got this tablet in my hands in this game and started interacting with it, the first thing I thought of was Boiling Steel. Because as heavily as you rely on it in Westworld Awakening, Boiling Steel uses it that much or even more. And that's a FPS action game. But the way you interact with the entire world in that game, get through doors, tether to other computers to find secrets and information, you're doing all of this in Boiling Steel as well. And not only that, but you can adjust your settings, the game menus, everything is interactive through the tablet that you carry with you in that game. So I just wanted to suggest to you, if you enjoyed that particular aspect of this game, that you should probably get around to your backlog game sooner rather than later.
Dude, my backlog is stacked a million miles high. It's
Mine
up
is
there.
too.
It's in the list.
Yeah, mine is too, and it's only getting more and more backed up with all these awesome new games that are coming
That's
out.
why I love the because I said so segment, because it forces us to go into our backlog. Because usually, Wes and I aren't trying to fuck with each other. I don't want to make him play something he hates. I want to do exactly what we did here and try to introduce him into something that maybe he's not opened his mind to see something that I've seen. But we'll probably at some point we'll try to fuck each other over. I just have a feeling, so it's just going to happen.
Yeah, we're not trying to make each other play Ashi Wash or White Castle Runner, whatever that game was.
Ashi Wash.
Anyway, while we've got Anthony here, it would be remiss of me to let him go without doing some good old-fashioned hardware speculation. This is what we all were doing back when we first met in Anthony's community. So it's only fitting here on our birthday, now that we're having Anthony on, to get his thoughts on some of the recent hardware leaks and rumors that have come out. So let's start with Oculus. So last week was it, or maybe even the week before, um, someone leaked photographs from the Oculus developer website where the developers go to interact and get news and stay in contact and in touch with everything new that's happening at Oculus. Anyway, someone leaked some screenshots referring to an Oculus Del Mar headset. And in addition to that, some Jedi, quote, controllers. Now, we know that these names are not what the final product is going to go by. They're code names. But just the fact that Oculus is beginning to engage developers with this new hardware says something, doesn't it, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean it's in there. It's saying Oculus developers that are signed up for Del Mar or whatever, blah blah blah. Like this is a thing. Del Mar is something. We just don't know what it is. It could be an AR headset. It could be all sorts of things. Like it could be any possible. It could be a Quest follow-up. It could be a Quest 1.5. It could be a new Oculus Go. Maybe they'll have a new Oculus Go. It could be a true Rift 2.0 that we've all been dreaming of. Who knows? I mean, it could be something we're not even thinking about.
Yeah, Ruuts, it was just revealed a day or two ago that Oculus, or Facebook rather, has basically bought out and boxed Apple out of the market on a specific AR display, meaning that they're buying AR displays in bulk masses. So do you think that that might indicate that Del Mar, rather than being a VR product, maybe this AR product that Abrash here said is going to be years
I
down
don't
the
know. It
road?
makes sense in a sense. They're trying to put a kibosh to Apple at the same time, and we know that Oculus wants to be first. And who doesn't want to have the first major AR headset out there, or maybe a hybrid of some sort, which would be kind of cool and exciting to see as well. I don't know. Haven't been really as much into the AR field as have, Anthony. I know that that's something that you've really been focused on and watching for the whole time I've been watching your show. That's been like high on your end. What do you think? Do you think it could be AR?
Well, I was more hyped in AR when we didn't know what Magic Leap was, and I thought it was going to be the dream they originally promised. And when that came out and it was basically HoloLens Part 2, my interest in AR has really plummeted. I'm still excited long term about AR. I'm still a believer in AR. But here's the thing. I don't think Del Mar is AR. And here's why I don't think it's AR. The earliest we're going to get this AR headset is supposedly 2023. And 2023 is a long time from now. I think it's too long of a time for yeah, I mean, you could have a couple of developers that are like working on a really long-term project that's designed to launch with this new AR headset in spring 2023 or something like that. But this is, I don't know. I mean, do people really do like 36-month development? That seems like a real long development window, especially for launch software. When, I mean, 3 years from now, like the thing hasn't even been finalized. So you're like making software based on what you think it's going to be, because whatever chip it's going to have in it, they're not going to decide 3 years in advance. They're going to try to wait until it's much closer and they can get the best chip, the right Snapdragon or whatever it is to slot in there. So I don't think Del Mar is AR.
You know, I generally subscribe to that same frame, that same mindset myself. It's logical to me what you're saying, but what really threw me for a loop is when they bought all of those displays from that display company, because you know display technology moves quickly, and I mean the displays that they have next year are going to make the ones that they're manufacturing this year look like yesterday's news. So for Oculus to buy in mass these displays says to me that perhaps AR is a little closer than Mr. Abrash here thought it was initially. That's the
Well,
only thing that really takes me aback
there is
with the
one
whole
thing to
AR thing.
say. Just one quick thing to say about that purchase that they. Well, actually, they didn't buy this company. See, the thing is, if they bought this company, then there would be scrutiny about like the SEC. Like that, like it's an acquisition, and there could possibly be some scrutiny around that. So they avoided that. What they decided to do is they entered into an agreement. They basically said, we're going to buy all of your displays for a certain period of time. No matter how many you make, we're buying all of them. And the reason they did that is because they have the exclusive rights with this company, and they were worried that Apple was either going to acquire this company or basically do the same exact thing. So they jumped in front of Apple. Look, Mark Zuckerberg does not want to miss out on potentially our next computing platform, which is going to be spatial, and it's going to be VR, AR, some kind of combination of that. Basically, computing is going to go onto surfaces and things, and that's the future of computing. And Zuckerberg does not want to miss the boat with this, and he knows that it's mission critical. But one of the things about these micro LED displays that they're creating, I was reading up on it, and it's basically saying like it's an individual color, like it's a blue color, and then they figured out how to do it with a red color, and they figured out how to do it with the green color, but they haven't been able to combine that all into one single thing. And so, but because we're talking 2023 here is supposedly the timeline that both Apple and Facebook are on this timeline. Because let's face it, the world is not yelling and screaming, please give us an AR headset. We cannot wait to drop $699 on, like the world is not asking for this. People have seen HoloLens, people have seen Magic Leap, and they're not tripping over themselves to spend thousands of dollars on this. But by 2023, they think they can get it compelling enough. They think they can get it maybe small enough and cheap enough where the demand is there. But like Apple ain't jumping the gun early either. And honestly, 2023, in my opinion, is the earliest time. Like I could easily see it be 2024, 2025. So I still think it's a long play, but like, I don't know, Jack, like I could be totally wrong.
Well, what they really need is they need the Half-Life AR game to come out to really ramp up public demand, and that way we can get some shit
actually
done here.
Anthony, did you read that there's somebody working on a Half-Life Alyx port to flat screen or flat game?
I saw a little bit of a video of somebody that already kind of did it, but like there's certain parts of the game that they can't really, because some of those puzzles where you have your those door puzzles where you're unlocking, very difficult to do, like as in a modded version.
I just feel like
that.
it's backwards, and I just feel like, man, you're taking the Mona Lisa and you're drawing a mustache on it, and you're doing all sorts of weird shit. And I get it. People really want Half-Life Alyx on flat gaming, but I think I almost am extreme to the point of like people would go back in the past and kill somebody for the Terminator movie. Like that's what needs to happen to stop this from happening, because it needs to be VR only. Well, maybe that's extreme, but
Yeah, I feel as simplistic as the gameplay loop in that game is, that it's not going to translate well to flat, even if the developers themselves do it. That's not a flat game. It's a VR game. And if you take it out of VR, it's going to lose 75% of what makes it great.
yeah.
But regarding Delmar, let's assume that it's not AR. Let's assume for sure that this is going to be a VR headset. Anthony, do you think that there's a future for Oculus Go as a product?
I do believe there, because all we have to do is ask us this question: are there non-gamers? You guys have been talking about this recently when you were talking about the Wave VR, you're talking about alt space, big screen. There's people that don't give a rat's ass. Like they might have an Oculus Quest, but they're not playing Vader Immortal. They're not playing Gun Club VR. They have it because they want to do these video things. They want to be in Rec Room maybe, or they're in Alt Space or the Wave VR. These kinds of things. There, some people are excited about the idea of the social aspect of. There's people that like in a real social situation, they feel extremely uncomfortable. But if they're in VR and no one can see them, no one can judge them on a physical basis, they might have this freedom in a VR world to be who they really want to be. And it's true. It's really true. It almost started to sound a little sentimental there, right? But no, I really think there's people out there and they really gravitate towards big screen VR, alt space, the wave, and all these sorts of things because they want that future, you know? And
So,
this could be a new Go could be perfect for those people.
so are you saying that you think the next Go, because like Alt Space and the Wave, those are all 6 degrees of freedom worlds that you interact with. So you're saying the next Go maybe have 6 degrees of
It
freedom
has
instead
to.
of the 3
It
DOF?
has to, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Well,
you would think so because you're kind of going backwards. See, the problem is with some people have argued like, okay, if I have a Quest and I'm laying down in my bed and like my wife just turned the light off and oh shit, now there's not enough light, it lost tracking, it's almost like we need hybrids. So like the Quest can go into a 3 DOF mode, but it needs to have some kind of sensing technology to just automatically switch to a 3 DOF mode as soon as like there's not enough light, bam, it automatically just switches to 3 DOF. And it needs to be seamless where the end user doesn't notice this whatsoever. And I got to imagine if you're coming out with a new Oculus Go, you're not going to forget all the lessons that you've learned for other things. Like, why would you just ignore that technology? You got to imagine. See, here's what I think the Oculus Go. Oculus Go would have the hand tracking capabilities of Quest 2. So it would be an advanced look at high-end hand tracking because I imagine they would put that in because you sell a Go, it could come with no controller whatsoever, or maybe it comes with a Jedi
Hmm.
controller. Because, well, one of the interesting things about the Jedi controller aspect, you notice there was no S. It wasn't Jedi controllers. It was Jedi controller. And one of the things I think about that is when you think about the Oculus Go, what does it have? It has a single controller, that kind of like the Magic Leap or like the original Oculus CV1 that came with that little selector thing. So maybe there's a Jedi controller that you use for certain experiences and games, but primarily it's hand tracking, and it primarily uses hand tracking, and it has more advanced hand tracking, possibly a dedicated coprocessor dedicated to processing the hand tracking, better cameras designed to track your skeletal frame when it's doing all the hand tracking. And then you don't have to ship any controller in the box except for the little Jedi controller. It all works out great. No.
so if it's if it can track itself through space and it can track your hands, it's a 6 DOF headset. What's the difference then between Go 2 and Oculus Quest
Or like a new Quest or something like why are they doing
or an
like
old
they're
Quest?
stepping, yeah, they're stepping on the toes, right? Okay, so here's the difference. The difference is this doesn't need a powerful Snapdragon in there, okay? So they could go back down. They could use the same like see, it's going to be the economies of scale and like ordering millions of a certain kind of a processor and then also having a contract with Qualcomm that says, hey, if we have this line of product for the next 4 years, will you continue to make this processor for us? So these are the things that need to be worked out, right? But they don't need to go to no XR2 or anything because it's not for gamers. It's for experiences, it's for video. Remember, here's the thing about video. We have not seen the upcoming video revolution. I've shown clips on VR365 of like Intel at CES 2018 when they were talking about voxels, and they show this next generation, like watching an NFL football game where you're seeing it from Brady's perspective. And then they show this Wild West scene where a guy on a horse is getting trampled, or, you know, whatever. It's action is happening. It's all 360 zooming all around it because of this future video content that we're going to have of like 180 videos, 360 videos, garbage on a stick. But we're going to get volumetric video sooner rather than later at some point in time. Now, it might require a 5G modem being built inside the actual device to be able to do this. But as we move into this like video world, you're almost going to have VR splitting off into two different tracks where it's, oh, hardcore gamers, yeah. But if you're not a hardcore gamer, you just want like high-end video, you want experiences, you want social networking, Facebook Horizon, alt space, big screen, yada, 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 Google Earth. You know, we got to have a headset. Like my wife doesn't need a Quest, but she might want one of these headsets that would be like 200 grams. So, you know, losing a lot of the weight because it doesn't need all this extra razzmatazz, maybe. I don't know. You know, we're spitballing here.
Yeah, I can see both sides here, Ruuts. So Anthony's basically describing a product that is a little more lightweight and a little more cheap than an Oculus Quest because it doesn't need all of the processing power that a gaming device needs. So basically the selling point would be how comfortable it is, and I would imagine it would probably have some super high resolution displays in it. But here's where I get well, I think that might not be very viable as a business plan. Because I don't think that the next Quest is going to be that far off. Well, I think we'll definitely have one within the next 2 years or so. And what's going to happen to these Quests that we're using now is they're going to get super cheap. So I don't see how you can sell someone this Go number 2 when you can buy for probably what's going to be around the same price Quest number 1 that can also watch movies and do all this social stuff, but at the same time can play all of these games, play the new Boneworks that's getting ready to come out this year. Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is coming out this year. So I can see both sides of the argument here. What say you, Ruuts? What do you think is the most likely plan ahead for Oculus from a media consumption standpoint?
I don't know. I get torn because, you know, I read the Reddit so much that, and everybody that always comes into VR getting, you know, a PC or whatever, like I was telling you the other day, and they always say, I just want to play Beat Saber, or I just want to do this. I only want to do the minimal amount. And then they get in there and they see all the other shit, and now they want to do everything. But then there's the other side of it, you know, and we ran into those people in the wave, like Anthony was saying, that they didn't even know any of the games were out. They didn't know Boneworks. They didn't know Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. They literally bought their headset for the wave. So if you could maybe have an advanced headset, like Anthony was saying, that's maybe even more advanced visually, and it's geared towards entertainment, because there is that section of people that they just want to watch TV, man. They just want to watch Netflix. They just want to watch HBO. And if they could do that in a phenomenal way in a new headset that's made just for entertainment, and it's got bells and whistles that maybe that the Quest can't do or whatever, I could see that also being a viable way to go. I guess I don't want to make either of you. I want both of you to be happy with me, so I'll stay right in the middle. But no, that's, I mean, I can see both sides for sure.
Well, let me ask you this, Anthony. Let's say that this Go 2 does come and it does have this super crisp, high resolution display. Do you think that that's going to, I don't know. How do you think that the masses of VR gamers that are playing Oculus Quest are going to take Oculus putting out this other headset with these superior display technology, but they can't play games on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to have some Snapdragon in there, and if it has an 835, yeah, I mean, it gets into a complicated thing because, like, if they did put an 835 in there and it could basically play Quest games, then yeah, you're complicating the issue there, and you're creating consumer confusion. So here's the thing. Let's back up for a second and let's go back to the January Consumer Electronics Show this year when we saw those little Panasonic goggles and what is it, Neo Pico or whatever that company is. Did you guys see Ben Lang? He tried that special 3DOF headset that they had, and he said this might be the most comfortable VR headset I've ever tried, because it's designed in a certain way where like it's really thin and the lenses are close. You know, they do that other style to get the lenses really close, and it's all about comfort, and it only weighs like 250 grams or something like that. I can see this as an option, and this is going to be sold as like, no, this is not a gaming thing. This is for the people that aren't really gamers, and it might be like $299. But when it ships in a box, it's a small box like the Go box, and it doesn't have controllers in it. Like there's no controllers. This is like a media entertainment device. There's great hand tracking. You can do Facebook Horizon just as good as anybody else can do Facebook Horizon. The resolution, let's say the resolution's like 2880 by 2880 per eye. That sounds ridiculously high. How are you going to like run stuff at that resolution? You're not. You're going to run stuff at 1440 by 1440, but then it's going to double to the 2880 by 2880. And because of that, when you're watching Amazon Prime or you're watching Netflix and you're in like a theater room and you're laying in your bed, bam, you just doubled up on pixels, baby. So it's going to look cleaner, smoother. You're not going to see screen door as much, even though you're not really running it at that 2880 by 2880. You're running it at half that, but it's going to double nice and smoothly, and it's going to look really good. Look, I'm just throwing this out there as a potential option. This could be a Quest 1. I can make an equal argument that this is a Quest 1.5. It's going to have a direct HDMI, a mini HDMI plug on the side of it. So you're going to get perfect Oculus Quest with your PC capability. No more degradation of anything. It's going to be flawless. It's basically going to be a new Rift that you can have, and they're going to take the battery and they're going to put it on the back, and it's going to have more of a rigid head strap. It's going to have the perfect like I can make all kinds of crazy arguments. This is just one possible argument, but I think Go 2, I think there could be a future for a Go 2, but maybe the future really needs like a 5G modem built inside it as well, and it's going to be like Intel voxels, and so maybe that future's a little bit delayed. So maybe Del Mar isn't this Go 2.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I can see them going in both directions. I think long term, I see them, instead of continuing on with the 3 product platform, I see them beginning to integrate. And that may go down to 2 headsets before it gets to 1, just based on, you know, you don't want to price out all of your consumers. These casual, you know, entertainment focused consumers like you're talking about, obviously they're going to not want to spend $400, $500, $600 on a product. But I tend to believe at the very least that the next generation, well, maybe as soon as the next generation, there's not going to be an independent Quest and Rift. I kind of think that it's going to merge into the one and the same thing. But let me ask you this. Let's say this Go 2 is everything you say it's going to be, and it comes out priced around $250, $300. And on top of that, Facebook invests all of this money into volumetric video and into the arts and individual artists, and pushes the entertainment side of it the same way that they've been pushing the gaming side of it over the last couple of years. Is this product something that you, as a VR enthusiast, are going to throw down $3 bills on.
No, but I don't think it's designed for me. See, I see a future, like one of the things that you mentioned earlier is like, what about Quest 1s? By that time they're going to be cheap, and then why doesn't somebody just buy a cheaper Quest 1? I'm going to warn you on that. It doesn't always work like that, man. Do you remember the was it the original Microsoft Xbox? Yeah, the original Microsoft Xbox. When they decided that they were going to have Xbox 360, production of the original Xbox was just bam, it just got stopped. You did not see those babies anywhere, and it was impossible to get. And I could see a similar situation when Oculus has a new Quest that they want to promote. The old Quest could just disappear in a poof of smoke, and you don't find them anywhere. You don't find them discounted. They could have a very tight grip on that whole idea there. And so you could see, like, they could go up to the high end with the Quest and maybe push it a little bit more and add all these extra features like full color, 120-degree full color pass through, scene recognition, eye track. Like, they could go a little high end with the next Quest, and maybe it's $100 more than all of these Quests were. And then so they have a low end, like $249.99 Oculus Go 2, doesn't come with controllers, not really gaming oriented. And then you can go the gaming route, but that shit's $599. I'm just throwing things out here.
I think that that's a very good point, especially in today's world where, the components that are required to make this hardware were already in high demand. And now with what's happening in the world, everything is becoming scarce. So I really don't see Oculus having this surplus of components to continue building Quests forever. So what you're saying here may very well be the truth. And when they move on to their next version of Oculus Quest, they could very well just cease production on the original immediately.
You can make some money.
So that's
make some good money, Wes, when you sell your Quest back in the future.
Well, that's what I'm doing here with my CV1. I'm going to sit on it until it becomes such a rarity. I'm going to sell it to a collector.
It'll be like a virtual boy.
Right. Remember back when there was screen door effect and God rays?
I kind of miss my CV1 actually, and then having to mess with the sensors and stuff. That was really cool.
Dude, I used my CV1. I played Saints and Sinners in my CV1. It's still a go-to headset for me, but I'm an oddity with my 70 IPD. The Rift S is a no bueno.
For me, I sold my CV1 for like $250 to one of my friends, I think. So he got a really good deal because it had all the cameras and our sensors and everything. So,
hey, check this out. I'm in the market for a new headset, right? Well, there might be something on the horizon, right, Wes? Tell us a little bit about.
Well, funny that you should mention that, because we all had thought that pretty much, with the exception of what Samsung's doing and maybe Lenovo, that WMR as a platform is pretty much dead. Microsoft doesn't seem to be supporting it anymore. And then from out of nowhere, here comes HP with their Reverb G2 revelation. And basically they're saying that this is a headset that is being developed not only in concert with Microsoft, but Valve as well. So, Ruuts, we talked about this recently. What the hell
I don't know. It's so weird because there's only two cameras, and so you'd think that there would be more if they were tracking everything, but then they've got Steam VR on there, so clearly they're going to have the better tracking, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know what the hell this thing is. I'll tell you, I want it. I don't know what it is, but I have to have it, Wes. So.
Anthony, their main tagline with this new product is no compromises. So is this going to be a Steam VR headset, a WMR headset, or a hybrid that does both?
On the trailer, does it say Steam VR or does it say Valve? It's one thing
Valve.
Okay,
Wait a minute. I'm not so sure on the trailer what it says. I know the press release or the little thing I read said Valve,
Steam
but I think the
VR.
trailer might actually say
Okay, here's the
Steam on it.
trailer. Let's watch it live,
I'm pretty
folks.
sure it says Steam.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think so too.
If it says
No
Steam VR,
pop-up.
yeah, let's see.
There it
Oh,
is.
it does say Steam VR. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, I could make this like you look at it right there, and what you see is, I believe you're seeing the audio, right, of the Valve Index. Has anybody been able to blow that up, supersize it? I think it's the same thing, because at first some people were like, oh, it looks like it has better audio built in, but no, you really look at it and you think about Valve, you're like, wait a minute, that's the Valve Index audio. So if it has the exact Valve Index audio, that is a hell of a bonus for Hewlett Packard. I give them love for that, because in my opinion, the Valve Index audio is the best solution we've got going, period, in all of this AR VR land out there, because it's headphones that are off your ears. So, we're going to be in the summer and not too long. It's going to get hot. Do you really want to wear one of these things when you're playing VR? Not really. You'd like your ears to be free. You're a lot cooler when your ears are free. And with the Valve Index, you're able to do that. So possibly with this HP Reverb G2, you'd have that capability as well. I'm sorry. Ruuts said there's only 2 cameras. Wait a minute, brah. There might be 2 cameras on the sides. We
It's
cannot
true.
really see the sides. So, so the big question with this thing really is, in my opinion, well, there's a lot of questions. Is this a hybrid? Can you use this for Steam VR and Windows Mixed Reality? Can you use it for one or the other? Does it come with Valve Index controller? I mean, there's a million different angles you can go, right? But if this was a headset that used Steam VR tracking and you can buy it a la carte, think of the Valve Index owners that would start to get a little bit crunchy, man, because this might have like really high resolution. The original Reverb was 2160 by 2160 per eye. This is G2, generation 2. No compromises, bro. We're going up. Up, 2885. No, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but one worry I have, man, is the original Reverb, that 2160 by 2160 is a 2.43 inch screen, I believe, that is like a square. That's why it's these 2160 by 2160s. All these new headsets, it's like whatever resolution's on the left side's on the right side as well. They're going to these special squares. But here's the downer. I think they're making him too goddamn small, because one of the things I've heard, some people that have a Reverb, they're up in there, they're playing their game, and they're like, oh shit, I'm seeing the edge of the screen over there. That's a little bit of an immersion breaker, I think, when you're playing VR and you see the edge of the actual screen, like the physical edge of the screen, because it's that small. So I have a lot of different concerns with this thing. I'm excited about this thing because if it had legit IPD adjustment, if it has, the Valve Index speakers on it, if it has an even higher resolution, I want to go to a new world. People love the Valve Index. They think, oh man, we've already made it. Like, I've heard you guys talk about the Valve Index like it's this like, oh, the Valve Index, it's coming in on a nice fluffy cloud. I feel like the Valve Index is not the most perfect thing in the world. They did a lot of things right, but the glare is real, baby. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that would absolutely kill Valve Index for me, because, like I said, that the God rays in the CV1 was the biggest downside of the thing for me. So when I got into my Rift S and most of that went away, that was a tremendous upgrade. But let me ask you this. So let's assume that HP learns from their mistakes, that the screens aren't going to be too small for the lenses that they put in it. There's not going to be the Mura that we saw with the original Reverb. That was another problem they had. Let's assume they get all that ironed out. It's a hybrid. It can do WMR. It can do Steam VR tracking. It has the good audio. There's a new headset every 6 months. We learn of a new one. is this product, if it doesn't have a wider field of view, going to, would you be willing to throw down, say, $800 on a next gen headset if it doesn't give you things like eye tracking and WFOV?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting question because it's like you would be going back. So like going back to the reverb, like there are a number of negative things about the reverb. You talked about the Mura, like this murky, like ununiform display. Like people complain like it's all black. You can kind of see, you know, it's like there's some issues there, right? And I think Hewlett Packard has probably said, "Oh, that's like it's manufacturing runs, and maybe some of our earliest manufacturing runs had some problems. They had some flickering screens. They had some things that they were dealing with when the thing launched originally. But another thing people complain about is this crazy thick, heavy ass cord of the reverb. A lot of people complained about that. Also, I think they complained about the cord not being very long, saying that if you get a reverb, this really is for like racing games. It's for flight simulators. It's for you sitting in a chair because you got the crappy Windows mixed reality controller that nobody wants to use either. I mean, the other huge, ginormous question that comes with all of this is Windows Mixed Reality 2.0. Is this going to be the first Windows Mixed Reality 2.0 headset? Well, if it is, then we've got to wait around for Microsoft's press conference because this ain't coming out until Microsoft unveils Windows Mixed Reality 2.0, and who knows when that's going to happen. I don't know, man. I don't know what Microsoft is doing. See, part of me believes that Microsoft is not going to make a bomb ass controller until they're also going to use it on the Xbox. Like they're not going to spend a lot of money on research and development to make an awesome controller that wraps around your hand really nicely and basically becomes like an Oculus Touch 1, but even better. I don't think Microsoft is going to spend the money and resources to do that until they're also going to leverage it on their Xbox platform. But we've already seen what Phil Spencer said, like, no bueno, right? There's no VR for this upcoming generation. So it's like 2025 is when Microsoft is finally going to enter the VR world on console, maybe. So will there be a Windows Mixed Reality 2.0 anytime in the very near future? This could be like Windows Mixed Reality 1.0. Then do you order this? You get the crappy, are you getting the crappy HP Windows Mixed Reality controllers? Or as part of the deal, you're getting Valve Index controllers, and maybe these Valve Index controllers, because it's a special partnership with Valve, they'll have cross compatibility with Windows Mixed Reality. I mean, it seems ludicrous, but you know, I mean, we're seeing the audio there.
I tend to believe that, and this is just pure speculation on my part, I tend to believe that this is a WMR device, a WMR 1.0, or maybe even a 1.5, you could call it, that has Steam VR sensors or transmitters embedded in it. So for someone who has a Valve Index or an HTC Vive that already has base stations, already has controllers, now they can get this headset as a standalone upgrade to what they've already got. That would be my guess with it. But as to the larger question about Windows Mixed Reality 2.0, I was always kind of a bear on that one. I was a pessimist toward it until recent months when everything Microsoft's doing outside of Xbox, outside of Phil Spencer, seems to be that they're finally jumping on board and seeing the potential of VR. We're seeing them saying that it's the highest priority for them to add in VR support to Microsoft Flight Simulator. We're seeing them talk about bringing Minecraft to Oculus Quest. We see them developing enterprise software for people to hold high-level business meetings inside VR. We're seeing Microsoft working on all of these different software solutions because they see the writing on the wall when it comes to VR, or at least that's the way I'm reading it. Roots, am I reading into this software boom a little too much when it comes to the hardware
No,
side of
I think it
things?
makes sense to me. I mean, you want to do everything lockstep, together. So, I don't know. I think there's so many things that are up in the air, and that's why it's so exciting to talk about, because this could be the best headset in the world, or it can be absolute shit. And I'm excited to see which one it's going to be. Well,
Anthony, we can see right here on the trailer that Microsoft's name and involvement in this product is without question. I mean, right there it is. You see it. So, my question to you is, if this isn't a WMR device, is there any other way that Microsoft can be involved with this that we're just not thinking of?
Yeah, there's nothing that comes to mind, no, I don't believe so. So, I mean, see, the thing is, HP has already had a deal with Microsoft. They've already had Windows mixed reality headsets. So maybe they could have possibly worked with Valve and tried to completely eliminate Microsoft from the equation, but maybe contractually they're obligated. There's all kinds of possibilities here. But see, a lot of people, like when this story first broke, they're like, Hewlett Packard has worked directly with Microsoft and Valve to create the ultimate headset and it's not like they had teams of Hewlett Packard engineers side by side with Microsoft engineers and Valve engineers, and they got Chick-fil-A together and they had a lot of fun together. It's not like that necessarily happened. What could be going on here is very simply just a few contracts, and it's like, yeah, we freaking licensed Windows mixed reality technology 1.0. We licensed Steam VR base stations, and we licensed the Valve audio, and we called it a day, and that's basically what we got here. This could be a repackaged Reverb. I mean, if we really wanted to get hardcore, this could be a repackaged Reverb with some Valve Index speakers slapped on the side of it, some freaking Steam VR dimples hidden around it, and they could have called it a day. I mean, it might not even have like IPD adjustment. It might be the same exact screens. We really don't know what this thing is. But one worry I do have, though, because the shape of it looks exactly like a regular Reverb, right? And the shape of it from a standpoint of FOV is concerning, because like HP, when they brought out the first Reverb, they advertised it as 115 degrees. Hell no. If anything, it was like 90 degrees. It was like lower than everybody else. So you might get a real jump in resolution with this thing, but you're going to take a major hit on your FOV. Now, maybe with the collaboration with Valve, they learned about tilting their screens a little, 5 degrees, and maybe put in some extra little lens stuff. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they squeeze a little more FOV out of it by tilting the angle or something, but there's a lot of concerns. Like, we're basically waiting for more information from this.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying here is that this could be the HP Reverb Pro, so to speak, just a kind of a little bit of extra bells and whistles on top of their already existing tracking technology, their already existing display technology, and maybe, hopefully, they have adjusted the lenses and the screens enough to get rid of that bush league screen effect you get when you see through the thing. But just looking at the thing in a box by itself, it looks like WMR Gen 1 to me. And if that were just the only thing we had to consider, I would say that this is not even any sort of evidence at all that there's WMR2 coming. But when you take this and you put it with the fact that just a month or two ago, we saw pictures of a new headset from Samsung, then things start to get a little more interesting, because as basic and as 1.0 this headset looks, that one from Samsung absolutely looked like a 2.0 or something else entirely than anything they've done before.
It did have the, I'm trying to remember the Samsung now. I don't really remember it that well, but didn't it have two cameras on the sides?
It was speculated that those could be cameras over there, but everything
Yeah.
kind of had this mesh thing over it, so nobody could really tell what was what with it.
Yeah, that's true. But it had these hinges on the side, but then it also had spots that could have been cameras, I think. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. I'll tell you one thing though about Windows Mixed Reality 2.0. See, here's how this announcement's going to come out. It's going to come out from Microsoft. It's not coming from no one else. Okay, so when they are good and ready to talk Windows Mixed Reality, they're going to do it. Now, normally they would have done it at like Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. They've talked about Windows Mixed Reality in Barcelona a couple of different times. And that would have been prime time for them to do it. Obviously, that was canceled, but it's been enough time since that event that if they had really planned on announcing Windows Mixed Reality 2.0 there, you would have thought that we would already have gotten some type of online announcement that would, they invite a couple of people like CNET or whatever, and, they do some little private thing and they have a video, and then all of that comes out on some random day and it's bam, Windows Mixed Reality 2.0. But that hasn't happened yet. So I don't think it was planned for Mobile World Congress. So maybe it's a back half of 2020 kind of a deal. But now with Corona Vision and I mean, just it throws everything up in the air. So with that, like, would you launch any kind of product this year? I mean, like even this headset, like, do you launch this year? Do you launch the Samsung this year? Do you launch Pimax 8KX this year with this like weird? I mean, Pimax is going to do what Pimax does, but like smart companies pay attention to economic cycles. There's people that don't have a job right now. They're about to get $1,200 from the US government, but you're not going to take that $1,200 and immediately buy a headset with it if you're like in a precarious job situation.
Yeah, I think what you're saying absolutely holds a lot of weight and makes a lot of sense. We are living in unprecedented times. As confused as we are about the future of the platform that we study day in and day out, I got to imagine these hardware developers and these market analysts, they're just as confused as we are because, again, we've never lived in times quite like this, at least none since we've industrialized and become electronic the way that we have over the last 50 years. I got to think that the current state of the world has a lot to do with why Sony's rollout of PS5 has been so odd and strange. Normally they have everything spelled out by like February or March. We kind of know how much it's going to cost, exactly what it's going to look like. But we've seen very little from Sony. And on an unrelated topic, I'm beginning to get a little concerned that we may not see PlayStation 5 this year. Has this thought crossed either of your minds?
It has mine for sure. Just everything you just said, because, if you look at the Quest, the Rift S, or the Valve Index, these are one headsets that are already in existence, and people already have a shitload of them, and they can't even produce what people are wanting now. And yet we expect that they're going to have all these resources to put out all these brand new consoles. If we're running low on supplies worldwide or whatever, at least from China, yeah, absolutely. And it could delay when you want to announce it and what you want to announce. It can change everything, because if your window now is not November, you're not going to be announcing it at the same time, and you're going to want to time it to where you're going to get everybody's anticipation ready when they can get it. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of things get delayed. I wouldn't be surprised if we start having problems getting TVs, or just who knows what the hell. Anything that's electronic, anything that's coming from China, especially now, because it's not even about them not producing or them not doing whatever. Now they're doing weird shit, and they're talking about, sending faulty kits to America, and just like overall, the government doesn't seem to want to play very nice with the world. And that could be a problem since they control 90% of rare earth minerals, and everything in our computers and technology use those to make them. So they have the world by the balls when it comes to technology. And there's just so much uncertainty with what they're doing that I couldn't trust anything that's supposed to be normal.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to think that the reason why they're teasing this hardware now is because, like the trailer says, that it is coming soon. So why would they do that? Why would they do it in today's current climate? Anthony, as we all have recently learned, the government is literally giving away free money now. Free money for all, thousands of dollars. Do you think that that possibly could have anything to do with why now all out of the sudden, all of the sudden, we have this this brand new headset coming soon with no compromises? I mean, if you can't buy anything else, why not throw 1,000 of your many thousands of free dollars down on a new headset, right?
Yeah, well, hey, do you guys have a Patreon?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well,
okay.
not
Because if you have a
officially.
Patreon, here's a great place to take that $1,200.
Right.
But yeah, no. So it's a weird thing. Yeah, the economic thing, but like when I look at that $1,200, there's still too much uncertainty around everything. Like that $1,200 is going to help in a lot of areas, but I don't think entertainment is going to be a big one for it. And if people use it to buy a new phone or something, probably a bad move, bro. I mean, there's other ways to use that money right now, but
they're totally going to buy phones with it.
It depends. Like I've got a friend. I got a friend that he lives with his mom. He's in college, and he's going to get a new video card with his money because he has no bills. I think that's the one side of it. You know, obviously I would never, like my thought is rent. My thought is keeping my power on, you know, and I've got a job. I'm still going to work every day, and I'm still like thinking about these things. So I think to think that people, you know, I guess there are a lot of, very irresponsible people in this country, especially. I wouldn't be surprised if people do go out and spend it on drugs or whatever. Who knows what the hell they'll spend it on. So.
Yeah, but a lot of those most irresponsible people, they're already in a problem because they don't have next month's rent, man. So it's like if you don't got next month's rent, how are you thinking about buying a new video card? But I understand your friend's in a special situation there. But just going back to the whole supply issue and PlayStation 5 and like Xbox, whatever it's called, and this headset and maybe that Samsung headset and like the Qualcomm Snapdragon headsets, the Quest Killers that were supposed to come later. I mean, there's a lot of different things that are floating around, like the in-real glasses and all that. That was going to be a launch. I think almost everything has been delayed 90 days. I think just about anything you could possibly imagine that's electronic related, you could pretty much stamp a 90-day delay on it, unless they've already manufactured like 30,000 of these things and they got them sitting in a warehouse and they're ready to go and they're going to drop their announcement and then they're going to be available. And you know, this headset might arrive in the next 2 weeks, dude. It might be time to be with Alex, and you know, they might already have these things in a warehouse. But if they're not already in a warehouse, everything's delayed for 90 days. And I think Sony and Microsoft, at a certain point, you got to think, you know, maybe we just scrap 2020 and it's now a spring 2021 launch for PlayStation 5. And it's a spring 2021 launch for the Xbox thing. And a lot of this stuff just might get delayed into next year. I mean, it's chaos central, baby. It is chaos central.
That's smart. That would be smart to delay, just because everything, like you said, people are already not knowing what's going on. We were even talking about this before the show, how just all the chaos in the world is like affecting what people watch on YouTube, you know, and like there's just not as many viewers right now, at least for us, as there was a month or two ago. And I have to think that it's because people have other things on their mind, and especially when it comes to finances. I agree that spring is going to hopefully, if everything gets better, is going to feel a lot better spending that extra money than it would right now, when you just don't know. Like, we don't know what the fuck's coming, man. We don't know where it's heading or how bad it's going to get, if it's going to go away, if it's going, you know, the uncertainty just kills everything. So,
Yeah.
Hey, oh, go ahead, Wes.
No, I was just going to say that I agree with that if the current climate is holding down hardware supply, especially in with regards to VR, that it's really, really unfortunate timing, because if there has ever been a piece of hardware more well suited for today's climate of social distancing and stay at home, it's virtual reality. So I was just going to say it's very unfortunate, the timing of the hardware shortage.
Yeah, it really is. But you know, one other topic that I don't think anybody's talking about this, at least I haven't heard anybody talking about it, and it's going to start to rear its ugly head. Okay, so remember how I said like basically everything is probably delayed 90 days, pretty much, is like a safe kind of ballpark you can think about. Okay, well, what about something like Iron Man VR? It has a release date of June 15th. That release date was set a long time ago. And when they set that June 15th release date, there was no coronavirus anywhere. And they were planning for all these months where camouflage was, their whole team was going to be in a building working on this game. Now, if you're a two-man team, if you're a one-man team, congratulations, because nothing has changed. You're working along like normal. But imagine these other developers like Respawn Entertainment, like that. It's good news for something like Vertigo, that new Vertigo game by Zalubu Productions. They only got like 2 or 3 people, so they're banging away on it. But any development team where they've got an office that they go to and there's like 30 or 40 people there, well, now are they there? Probably not. They're probably working from home. And I just believe that if you think you can get the same work done at home that you were getting done in an office, probably not. I would think that your production level is going to slip like 40%. You're not going to be able to show somebody this build immediately. Like, there's just going to be issues, right? So think of all the developers out there. Like VR Game Rankings, we try to project, like if we don't get an actual release date from a game, we try to kind of guesstimate it to the best of our ability. And we put games in like Q3, Q4, stuff like that, you know, try to guesstimate it really good. We use the release dates when they're there. But I'm wondering, do I need to go to VR Game Rankings and every release date drop it 30, drop it 90 days back? Because are all these release dates going to hold water now? Are we even going to get Medal of Honor this year now?
Yeah, that's a very good point, especially with regards to Iron Man VR. It's funny that you started with that one, because I've read on Twitter just this morning Ryan Payton, the director behind Iron Man VR, tweeting out that they've basically been in crisis mode for a month and they're just barely holding it together there. That everybody's okay, but it's kind of chaos at the camouflage offices right now. And that's the first place my head went to. You know, we're supposed to get that game in about 6 weeks on May 15th. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they push that thing later into the summer or even later than that. I mean, they've already delayed it twice as it is, right?
Well, I've seen a lot of like even just updates or like project for games that they were going to have an update or whatever, and there's like what was that, Nostos, that was one of the things they publicly came out and said, because of all the chaos with the coronavirus, we're now delaying our updates. So if their updates are getting delayed I obviously I would agree. I think we're going to see a lot of games delayed, and it might be just like you said, there's going to be a certain number for companies where they're just going to say, let's just go 3 months and just push everything back 3 months, hope everything gets back to normal in that time frame, and we can get back on schedule. So
I'm wondering, are there some, like, it could also go a complete other way. Like, imagine there's a developer that has a team of 11 people and they just decided, we're just going to live at the development studio. None of us have COVID. We're just going to stay here. We're going to tell our families, hey, we're staying here. We're going to bang. There could be games that come out even earlier because they were in like a bunker situation. They had food ordered. I mean, I'm not saying any developers are doing this. I'm sure there's got to be maybe a couple though that might be
why
doing
not?
it.
Especially if you don't have a family to go home to. If they're single or whatever, why not?
Well, fingers crossed that Zalubo Productions is doing this, and at least a small team at Respawn, or maybe a few different pockets of people working on this aspect or that aspect. And then, I don't know. I could go on for a day about all the highly anticipated games that are supposed to come this year. But yeah, you're right. It could go either way. Again, strange days have found us,
Topsy-turvy world.
in the topsy-turvy world. That's exactly right.
Bizarro world, bizarro.
Anyway, with that said, I think that's going to wrap up our episode here. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on and doing this, bro. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, this has been really fun. It's been almost like a little party. I really enjoyed
Well, and
it.
it got us to talk about hardware. We rarely talk about hardware, but if we're going to do it, there's no one better to do it with than you, because you are Mr. Hardware Speculation. And actually, ironically, most of what you discuss or your premises usually are pretty close to on point. So I think you have a good your finger on the pulse of VR and what's coming out and what people want. So
yeah, maybe there's a company out there that
yeah, that's right. Hire Anthony and he'll steer you correct, I think.
I'll bring my crystal ball with me to your offices and we'll share the future together.
I bet your crystal ball has those Fresno rings in it, right?
Pretty much.
Anyway, for those 4 or 5 of you out there who don't know who Anthony is, you can find a link to his YouTube channel down in the description, as well as the VR Game Rankings website, where you can go and he breaks it down into every different platform, what's coming, when's it coming, what is it. If you're uneducated about VR games, VR Game Rankings website is the place to go to get the Cliff's Notes on basically the entire platform. Anyway, with that said, for those of you new to our channel, please subscribe, click the bell to keep up with all of our content. And if you would like to join the conversation, join our Discord by clicking the invite. You will also find that down in the description below. With that said, friends, we would like to thank you once again for watching. And for Ruuts and Anthony, I'm Wes. We'll see you tomorrow, friends.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.